Hey everyone, Mark from Coast to Country. Today's video we're going to make a coat rack. Well, I'm going to make a coat rack. We're doing up a family shack at the moment. It's a bit rustic. So what I want to do is have a spot where I can keep some of the old timber that we pulled down out of the old shack that's over 50 years old, and I want to save it. And I've got some dog spikes here, or railway spikes. And what I want to do is put them into the timber and make a rack basically. So what I've done, I've beaten this one with a hammer just to straighten it. So these are pretty old. And what we want to do is keep this patina look, but I want to take off all the major surface rust, so because you don't want to hang up your clothes and get rust stains on your clothes or whatever. So not that it'd worry me, but the missus will kill me. So anyway, so we clean this up, and we're just going to stick them in the vise, hit them with a basically a wire wheel, and go from there. I'll show you a bit of the process. Alright, so we've got a dog spike in the vise. Tighten them up a bit. With this, definitely wear heavy gloves, and I'm all for safety squints, but in this case I'm going to use proper safety glasses, obviously, because the metal pieces that come flying off of off these polishing rust removal wire wheels, if they let go, they really get hold of you. I've had them stuck in my cheek before, in my hands, so wearing heavy welding gloves, safety glasses, and obviously I might probably whack earmuffs on as well. And we'll get into it, and we'll knock a bit of this surface rust off. Right, so you can see there, all I'm trying to do is knock the major rust off. I don't want to polish this to an inch of its life. I actually want a bit of that rusty look, and I'll actually varnish it to seal that in, and then no contaminants will come off when you're hanging things up. So should come up okay. I don't want it shiny. That's probably almost a little bit over polished, but I'll knock all this off, and we'll do probably 5 of those. Alright, so that's pretty much done. Can't stress enough how much to use safety gear when you're using one of these angle grinders with a wire wheel on them. I mean, this looks around at something like, I don't know, 12,000 RPM or something. When these little wires let go, they go in a big way, and they'll stick in your hands, and you know, like I said, I've had one stuck in my cheek before. So yeah, definitely safety gear. I use heavy leather gloves. Anyway, that's that. You can use a wire brush if you haven't got an angle grinder. You can basically just start hacking away with just a standard wire brush, and it will take the rust off. Like, even that's starting to come off pretty well. You know, but it'll take a long time, and you know, but that's okay. Rome wasn't built in a day. Having said that, if they had power tools, maybe it would have been. But anyway, that's the finished result. Yeah, so that's pretty much the two, if you can see that. So surface rust has been removed. It's got a lot of patina still. That's kind of the finish we're after, and we'll mount them on a board. Probably varnish them as well so they don't keep rusting, but they'll be inside, so they'll be fine. All right, we'll get on to the next bit. Now, it's a bit of a mess, but I've got a bit of reclaimed timber here from the shack. So these are the old poles. Some of them are all rotten through. Basically, this timber's, well, the shack was built in about the 40s or 50s or something like that, so quite old. There's a lot of old hardwood here, but what I'm trying to do is get some of these old timber rails, and I might try and split them and use that as the base. So that one there's not too bad. What's the top like? Got a bit of a split in it. I might be able to split that in half on the bandsaw. Anyway, that one might be okay yet. That one's alright. It's got a few old nails and things. Bit of a nasty twist in him as well. So I reckon this one here might be the go. Right, this shed is an absolute pigsty at the moment, but we'll make it work. So there's this bit of timber I was looking at. It's got a bit of a dog leg at the end here. So what I might be able to do is cut this section out here. It's got a lot of nail holes in it as well, so I might just trim that off there. And it's got a bolt hole there, which I'm not too worried about. I can plug that up with silicone or something so spiders don't live in it. But we might take this old band off and rip it through the bandsaw and just see if we can use it, and then we'll mount some spikes in it, and then that'll get attached to a wall. That's the plan. Oh, see if I can get this band off. This was used to tie boats up, had a chain through there. Okay, we'll just cut this bit of a bow in it, out of it. A couple of big nail holes here I want to cut out as well, so I'll use this other piece for something else later. Inside's not too bad. Okay, so I'm not really sure how this is going to turn out, but it's got a natural split all the way through. So I'm going to try and use this half. Actually, I'm just going to use the half that survives, put it that way. I'll get the bandsaw and I'll just try and rip this right down the centre. And then I'll run it through the jointer and try and get one straight edge at least. And we might be able to save this bit, otherwise I'll use it for something else and find another piece of timber. Alright, so that cut not too bad. That blade was horrendous. It hasn't got enough gullet in the back of it to rip lengthways. But anyway, we got through there. What I'll do now is I'll put these on the jointer and I'll try and get one nice straight edge. And we'll be able to use that as the backing. I'm not sure which one to use yet. We'll see how they come up. Right, I'm just whizzing this through the jointer now. It had a bit of a dome in the centre. Starting to get it flat now. We'll just keep doing a few more passes. Right, so here's one half through the jointer. Came up nice and straight now. It's a little bit thin at the other end. So I may have to shorten this up a little bit, even if it's only up to there. Because what will happen now is I'll make some holes in it and the spikes will go through here and they'll mount. I'll probably have to shorten these up a bit as well, because I've got a very limited room where this is actually going to hang as well. Being a shack, it's not a very big room, so I want to keep these in fairly close to the wall anyway, because you don't want to clothesline yourself on them. So yeah, anyway, so we'll knock some holes in here and glue them in. I'll probably just get an angle grinder and cut the backs off. Haven't really worked it out yet. I'll probably get a wire brush and tidy this up a bit too, get that a little bit more. I want to keep it sort of rustic, but I also want to get a little bit of the sort of a mossy type mould up here off. I've just been giving this a bit of a clean up, getting it back to raw timber. So I'm just going with the grain with a steel brush, stainless steel brush. Trying to get as much of that dirt and that out of there as we can. Right, I'll just tidy these ends up a little bit. Right, so I've laid out our pegs where we want them. Come in 140mm from each end, then divided the rest up evenly into the 5. All I need to do now, put a little mark there where I want them all. I'll put a line down the middle with my fantastic straight edge off hand. So I'll keep this roughly, well, I'll call that the centre. Probably roughly there's the centre. And we'll just put a bit of a mark where I'm going to drill the holes. Well, it's not that critical whether these aren't exactly in line. Something like that. And I'll drill the pilot hole quickly first. Keep these straight up and down. They could actually angle slightly up, but the fact that there's a lip on the end to stop things falling off, I don't think it's going to matter too much. I'll just keep them roughly straight. Right, time to drill a big hole, and then I'll chisel out to make that fit. Okay, so now it's just a matter of getting this chiseled out square on each side. So you get a chisel. It's a bit blunt, but you get that. Mortar strip would be really good for this, but I don't have one, so I'll just keep working away at this. So at the end of the day, once we keep working away at that, that will go in there. We'll hammer that right through, and then we'll epoxy that in and cut off the back of the angle grinder. So I won't bore you too much about chiseling, but that's basically the process. I'll show you once I've chiseled all these out. So basically just made a square hole, sort of the old square peg and a round hole scenario. So once that's done, basically just get this peg and tap them in a bit. I don't go too much and blow out this crack here. So what we'll end up doing is probably, we're going to epoxy these in. I might actually make that come in a lot further actually. I don't want these sticking out this far. And then I'll epoxy this in. But before I do that, I'll cut these off first, because if you glue these in with epoxy like 5-minute Araldite or something, when you cut these off, that'll heat up and it can actually melt the glue again. So I'll probably cut these the length first, then glue them in. Right, so I don't want these sticking out for miles, so I'm actually going to cut them off short. By the time that goes through the timber, it'll be only sticking out, so this far. Right, once we've chiselled that out, they just simply drop in there like that. So they don't stick out very far. They look a lot better hanging out further, but I don't have the luxury of that. It's a tight spot where I'm putting this. I don't want to hook yourself on it every time you walk past. So anyway, that'll go flush to the back of here. I'll get some epoxy resin and we'll glue those in. Okay, we've got some Araldite here, which is basically a 2-part epoxy. Doesn't really matter what brand. So we'll just mix that up. One's a resin, one's a hardener. Just pop the top off of that. Just got to make sure they're even amounts. Make quite a bit up. I'll make up more if I need it. Just get roughly the same amount. Mix that together. This is the high strength Araldite. I don't think it really matters. I couldn't find any 5-minute Araldite, which is not quite as strong, but for this it won't matter. These are almost a press fit with the pins anyway. So make sure you mix this up properly. General rule, this stuff, you mix it for a good minute or so, even if it's 5-minute Araldite. Because what you don't want is to have any bits that aren't mixed together. You can lose a bit of strength. This stuff apparently is good for up to 150 kilo. So if we're hanging a coat that weighs more than that, I'm going to have a serious think about my life and diet. So this should do the trick. Alright, let's call that a minute. So what the plan is, I'm just going to slap a bit of this on this pin at the end, because I don't want it all miles up on the end when I push it in. So get a fair bit of this on there. I'll glue the end in a minute once it's in there. Give a nice dose of that. This is up the right way, so that's actually just going to go like that. And I'm trying not to get too much glue oozing out here, which I've already done. So that is pretty much going to be like that. Go away, fly. And this is getting varnished as well later, so a bit of this epoxy on the wood is not going to matter at all. So as you can see here, when we flip it over, we've got our pin coming out the other end. It's already cut off flush, so I'll just make sure that comes back enough to clear the wall when I mount it. And what the plan is with this is to get the excess. The back of this doesn't really matter what it looks like. And I'm just going to glue this in here, fill a few cracks up. There's a natural split in this as well, which I also want to fill. So we're just going to keep doing that the whole way along, and basically whacking a heap of araldite into the gaps. Okay, so I've just resined in the backs of these, fill in a few cracks here and there, so they're all nice and level. A little bit of tape on the end here, so that little bit of groove will stop there, and that's when that's mounted hard up against the wall, that'll just stop things living in the back of it. And on this side we've just put it down level with the bench, so they're all exactly the same height. And we've also had to watch the front here, nothing runs down, which we can cut off later anyway. So anyway, I'll let that set for a while and then we'll probably varnish it. Right, so it's been a couple of days now, and you can see this resin's firmed up really solid. Just filled up a few little gaps in here. So that's pretty much done, and what I'll do now is varnish the other side. So the first coat of varnish just seals the timber, and the second coat pretty much sits on the surface and makes it nice and shiny. So we'll start doing that now. See, it's sort of gleaming now, it's not soaking in as much, so give this a few coats. Okay, so that's had its third and final coat of varnish. And now what we need to do is just take it down to the shack and we'll try and get that installed. Alright, so here we are back at the shack, and this is the little dividing wall we've made. It's going to be a red gum slab which will overhang here quite a bit actually at the front. So we're a bit limited for space for other walls, so we're going to put this coat rack on this wall here. So the plan is that's going to mount in here somewhere, like so. I'll get it level in a minute. And what we need to do is to pick up the studs running down this wall and put some screws in there. So you can use a stud finder to find those if you need to. Oh yeah, it's finding a stud, no worries. It's really lame. Or the other option is I'm a bit lucky here because I can see where the studs are, because I still haven't got the capping board on here, so I can see where the studs are, so I can just mark them down with a spirit level and we'll be able to know where they are. So we'll just get our spirit level, we'll mark where top of the studs are there, and we're not going down very far down this wall, so it's pretty right there. Just get that level, and we know roughly there somewhere is the centre of that stud. Same thing, go across to here. We know that there's nails there, so that must be the top of the stud. So if you're going way down the wall, just make sure your spirit level is level, and you'll be able to mark it way down there and still get the stud smack bang in the middle. We're not going very far anyway, so it's not as critical. So I'll put another mark there. So next job is to drill 3 holes, and then we'll get that screwed up. Okay, we'll just drill some holes in this. With my blunt drill bit. I don't have a countersink bit, but I'll just use a big drill bit. That'll be just enough to bury the screw head, and then we can put a little wood plug over that, or Sandra loves puttying and painting, so I'll get her to fix it up. She'll love it. Alright, let's get that screwed on. Right, put the centre one in, and then I'll just eyeball it a bit. It's a bit hard to put a spirit level on that. I've just measured the top of the pins, and about 1100 roughly to the floor, and that's pretty spot on. And just visually it looks pretty level, so because the timber's all up and down a bit, so just sort of eyeball that and get that as close as we can. Get your favourite big scrape. Whack those in. It's pretty solid. Alright, cool. So once we get the red gum bench over that, that'll pretty much hide those a bit, so when you're walking past you won't get yourself hooked on them. Alright, so that's done. Thanks for watching, guys. Yeah, if you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe, that'd be awesome. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.